Hello to all my channel viewers. Thank you for your wonderful comments on the previous video about startup. Some of the young entrepreneurs specifically requested me to take this topic further. So I have brought this second video where you will see how you should not give up, how you should sustain and understand the opportunities that are hidden in present challenging time. I'm sure you will enjoy this video and find it informative. Do subscribe to the channel to see more such informative and useful video contents. So as you may remember from the previous video, in the previous video there were discussions on the challenges that startups are facing, the silver lining that is helping startups to survive, and how MSME package can specifically help startup to become more Atmanirbhar. Having discussed some of these points in brief, now it's time for us to dive more deeper, to discuss a lot more in detail on how you can turn your dream into reality, how you can transform your startups. And this is what we are going to achieve in the next few slides, in the next few sections, where we will discuss specifics on what will make your startup become sustainable, what will help it to survive through these difficult times. When you want to study the business environment or the present situation in which the business is getting launched, it is very common to use Porter's five forces model. For those who have never seen this model, let me spare 10 seconds to explain what this model talks about. So on one side, you have threats of new entrants and competitive rivalry. So the area threat of new entrant indicates how easy it is for anybody to enter this market. What are the entry barriers? Is it easy to enter, or it's very highly difficult to enter the new market? Similarly, the competitive rivalry speaks about what are the existing competitors and how well positioned they are. Is it a very saturated market, etc. There is another angle which talks about threat of substitutes, which indicates is it easy to substitute your product or service easily by some other means. So for example, instead of buying some product from your e-commerce website, will people prefer buying it from a local shop? Then there are important angles like bargaining power of suppliers, how your vendors are positioning themselves, what is their bargaining power over your business, because this is an input to your business. And then an extremely last but not the least important aspect is bargaining power of your customers. Having understood these five forces which help or which prohibit the success of your startup or success of your business, now let's apply this model to existing pandemic situation. As you all know, in present times, though there is competition, though there are challenges in existing players, the competition is comparatively going to be reduced for any new player, because the new player will enter with some more USP, will enter with some more pricing contents. Existing competitors are also under tremendous stress. They are also in shackles. They are not moving as fast as a startup can move. So there is a agility advantage to any new startup in this case. The threat for new entrant, if you people are discussing and thinking should you give up, should you exit, then you can imagine what is the level of threat of new entrant. The threat of new entrants or the entry barrier is certainly going to be very high for anybody to newly enter into this market. Probably you have some head start compared to them, so it's favorable to you compared to any new entrant in present situation. The threat of substitute is either neutral or it is diminishing. Why? Because there are certain norms, there are certain new areas, new ways of doing business which you as a startup will bring in your products or services. Like for example, usage of digital channel, right, or usage of machine learning type of algorithms, or many other aspects, non-technical as well. So considering that, the threat of substitute is going to be much lesser for your startup compared to how it is for rest of the world. In terms of bargaining powers, we know that bargaining power of suppliers is going to be strained. They will be more than happy to knock out different terms with you, to discuss different payment conditions with you, or to supply at a discounted rate to you. So compared to vendors or suppliers, you are better positioned in this present times, and you can leverage from that. Unfortunately, the bargaining power of customers is very high, and because its negative impact on your business, it is shown with the red color. So if you see, compared to the bargaining power of customers, all other aspects are favorable to your present startup, or to your present product and services. Depending upon individual case, this can be analyzed further, but at the same time, by and large, the challenges that you are going to face, or you are facing in this pandemic situation or post pandemic situation, are mostly going to be on the bargaining power of customer, whereas all other forces are going to be in your support. Let's now analyze with another model called critical mass theory of startups, which is developed by NFX. It helps better understanding of startup timing. It is the tipping point for when a product or a market undergoes tremendously rapid transformation, something like overnight itself. How this critical mass point for a startup is understood: it's an opportunity which arrives when there is a minimum threshold of three preconditions. The three preconditions are shown here on the right hand side of the equation, which include the technologies, which also includes the economic impetus, and the C stands for cultural buy-in. So when these three preconditions are together augmented in a favorable manner, the CM, the critical mass, gives you tremendously rapid transformation. The question you all need to analyze is, you all are watching what is happening around you after the pandemic. Within few days or few weeks time, will you be seeing some of these things coming together? Of course, there's a good amount of new enabling technologies which are already there. There is an economic impetus. There are a lot of new things which will open up. There are a lot of new possibilities that will open up. People will do things in new norms. There will be cultural buy-in from the perspective of buying products from a particular country, or not buying products from a particular country. So many of these things will change compared to how they were before, and hence augmenting of these three things is definitely a possibility, which means that soon there is a possibility of having this critical mass inflection point. Do you want to continue, sustain, and survive your startup when this tipping point is occurring? The answer has to be yes. Having analyzed some high-level factors and macro contents of business situation, let's also look at some of the micro factors, right? So here, in terms of ease of funding or ease of financing, you will see that the loan rates are reducing. There are flexible terms offered. Government schemes and tax hopes are on the cards. There are possibilities that you can change your debt equity ratio. It will be very easy for you to relook at the DER that you had decided before. There are new and interested investors which are coming in the market. So it's comparatively easy for you to increase your finances and sustain or increase your runway. The availability and choice is very high for commercial space. So one of the important factors when you're running your startup, when you're frugal on all the all the pockets, you will always be very happy to know that real estate rates are dropping and your commercial rentals are reducing. It's very easy and comparatively choicy to attract and retain talent in present situation, because there's an availability of a lot of talented people in the market. There is going to be flexibility offered by many of these employees. It will be easy to negotiate and discuss with them, instead of cash, ESOP based pay packages. So it's going to be a better thing on your working capital as well. In addition to that, the churn of employees will be less. So even from the human resource perspective, you will be benefiting from on this input angle. Another part of your input is inputs coming from suppliers, so you can choose your supplier. It will be easy on terms and condition. The suppliers will be more open or more considerate to give you some discount or to allow you some deferred payments or some relaxed payment terms, considering that their businesses are also under stress. So many of the input parameters like financing, uh, real estate rentals, human resources, and suppliers, all these input aspects are going to be in your favor. Similarly, on the output or on the market side, market acceptance is going to be higher for the products and services that you will be launching, as we discussed in the previous sections. Market composition is changing. Remember that many countries are discussing about similar concept like vocal for local. So the market composition is changing, and there is a higher acceptance to certain areas or certain types of products. Market is going to be very cost sensitive, and as I said before, market will be ready to try out different things which may be at a cheaper rate. So established brands, established products may have a threat coming from your startup and your products. There is slow and steady improvement in the market size. Of course, presently the market is very poor and very bad, no doubt about that. But after what we saw in the tipping point example, after the pandemic completely gets over, the market sizes will steadily and slowly improve. Similarly, there are a lot of tax soaps coming from government. There are a lot of discussions on tax discounts or deferred tax payments. There are possibilities of government helping on provident fund and other things which otherwise you might have had to pay. So your working capital is again going to be much more better managed. You can ask your CA that can you set off some of your previous balances or previous losses, and can you carry that forward so that your runway expands, you are able to sustain for a slightly longer period than what you were thinking of. More than anything, if you decide and when you decide to sustain and survive instead of giving up in this present time, the minute you decide that you want to sustain and survive, you have this early mover advantage compared to many other equivalent startups or businesses. It's on your side and you can leverage that in a very big way. Sustaining in present situation and surviving through this pandemic will give you the required strength. It will make your pitch much more better than any other similar competitor, and your valuations also can certainly increase just because you have survived this tough time. So on the input side, you have a lot of things in your favor. On the output side, there are many things which you can turn in your favor.
And as the saying goes, when the going gets tough, tough gets going. There are startups which are turning these challenges into a silver lining, into an opportunity. They're using all the brain power they can to make things different. And let's say how. There are startups which are diversifying into sectors which are in demand, which may be different compared to their original sectors. For example, Zomato, which we all know is a food delivery startup. Zomato has started understanding that grocery delivery is a challenge. It's a problem area and it's also an area in demand, and they have moved to doorstep grocery delivery. VT Enterprises, which was actually in cotton and foam pillow making, they have moved to making face masks in present situation. There are startups which are completely reinventing themselves with new or modified offering, and this is one area where edutech startups are becoming a very big success story. There are startups like, say, for example, Zostel, which is a hospitality startup. They know that people are not going to come out of their houses for some more days. So they are finding ways to allow community and social engagement with each other using some innovative ways. StyleNook, which was a startup originally focusing only on workwear, knows that now workwear demand has gone down. So they're expanding into fitness wear, loungewear, which is the need of our. There are startups which are focusing on emerging technologies. They are taking help of AI, cloud, and IoT, and they are ensuring that their offerings are really, top notch, ahead of the time. RoboChamp is one such startup which is focusing on infusing robotics-based learning. Similarly, Power 8, which is an IoT-based startup, is using AI platform to focus on optimizing utility bills.
As a young entrepreneur, you are already motivated, so I don't need to tell you that get motivated and survive this tough times. At the same time, I think it's very relevant and very good slide which I just wanted to show to you. Feel free to read more about it. There are some good examples of how the founder of Pandora.com approached 300 plus investors before he got funding. There are popular stories like Sylvester Stallone was rejected 1500 times before selling his scripts. So essentially it talks about how many times you should try before you give up, and the number is humongously high. You have definitely seen difficult times, but I have also shown you that there are good times going to be ahead. A good slide here by Miss Anna, and she has also talked about some more important points where she says that the truth is that there is no perfect path. Entrepreneurship is messy, imperfect, and unpredictable, and that's what makes this so challenging yet scary, and because of that, it is so exciting and fulfilling. So to all the young entrepreneurs, to all the people who are thinking of the future and fate of their startups and have any doubt of giving up at this present times, my suggestion again to my friends, do not give up yet. This is not a time for you to think on the exit paths. This is a time for you to analyze how you can sustain, how you can survive. I've given you some tips of expanding your runways to make your working capital better. For specific questions, you know that you can reach out to me. Feel free to put your questions in the comment section. For those of you who would like to get more information, more such good videos, please do subscribe to the video channel. My best wishes to you all, and thank you very much.